If you're from New York State or are visiting, you might have noticed that New York has a lot of Greek and Roman named cities, towns, and villages.
It was so popular, this idea of the Greeks. They also started naming communities after Utica, Rome, Romulus. They started using terms from the history, from classical stories, Ithaca, to name the communities because there was just almost an obsession. It was sort of like a big fashionable trend to name communities after Greek and Roman places.
Anne Deely is the Director of Education and Public Information at Historic Geneva, and she says that after the American Revolutionary War, America was established as the first republic since ancient Greece.
Our nation, if you think about it, was the very first republic. It was the first one since ancient Greece. And so Americans, particularly those who founded the nation, were very informed by their knowledge of Greek and Roman history, and they were looking back to those forms of government to help inspire the Constitution and the federal government system. So there was an interest in distinguishing ourselves from the European powers, all of which were monarchical.
During the time period of the late 1700s and into the early 1800s, New York was just getting established. According to William Farrell's Classical Place Names in New York State, Algonquins and Iroquois Native Americans, or the Haudenosaunee Native Americans, were referred to as, quote, the Romans of the West, end quote, after they had formed a league or confederacy in the 16th century. However, not too long after, the Europeans had come to New York and claimed the land in the early 1600s. By the mid-1600s, the British had seized that land. It wasn't until almost another century later, in 1775, that the American Revolutionary War set New York free from British rule. After the war, in return for their service, the newly formed U.S. government gave out land to soldiers in what was called the military tract.
The military tract was laid out roughly from Onondaga County to Seneca Lake, to the east side of Seneca Lake. Since there was no real cash, that was to pay off men who had served in the Revolutionary War. Prior to the Revolutionary War, they had to negotiate with the Haudenosaunee or the Iroquois and buy the land and set aside some reservations. So once that happened around 1789, they surveyed it and then they started giving names to the various towns and townships. And Robert Harper was the Deputy Secretary of the State of New York. And he was actually a classics professor, so he had studied all about the Greeks and Romans and things like that. So he just began handing out these names. And then after that, into the early 1800s, the postmasters of hamlets and villages were in charge of picking a name, so people would know where to send the mail. And being similarly educated, they followed in Harper's footsteps.
Deely recommends, if you want to see more of where this Greek and Roman history comes from, that you check out the Greek Revival Building in Geneva. For Finger Lakes 1, Megan Hatch.